This is an SM Media production. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 4 of SM Media's Road to Cheltenham right here on the channel. I'm Scott McPhee, delighted to be your host as always. Delighted to be joined as always by from the Scottish Daily Mail, Calum McClurkin. Calum, how are we?
Yeah, all good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all good, thank you. It's been another busy weekend. What was your main takeaway from the weekend's action?
Probably Midnight Shadow winning getting a big one at the Paddy Gold Cup after in second the Casper Caviar last year. I'm kind of waiting for him to land one of these big kind of handicaps, and unfortunately made a bit of a mistake at the last, but just had enough in the line to hold off Protector. I thought that was the best race of the weekend at Cheltenham. Yeah,
it was a very exciting race. It was a lot to obviously to get through with the Cheltenham November meeting with Punchestown, where we saw a Grade 1. We'll get into them later on in the show, but we did open the floor to some fan questions, and we got a lot of fan questions in. The first question was, would you restrict bumpers for 4 and 5 year olds only? Calum, this I think came out from the up in the Ante during the week. I think they were talking in depth about it. It's potentially a big kind of problem that a lot of 6 year olds seem to be going bumpers and then are going kind of novice hurdling at 7 and things like that. Would that be a good solution to maybe getting more competition?
Yeah, it stems from maybe too many divisions and too many options to stay as a novice as well. The only doubt I'd have that is if you've got a really soft 6 year old and you don't really want to send over hurdles first time, and you want to give it one run in a bumper just for experience and maybe perhaps welfare purposes and in soft ground as well, to prevent them jumping from a hurdle and maybe going back in a previous injury or something like that, then maybe you shouldn't be completely restricted. I'd encourage them to maybe restrict them to just having one run, and then if you're 6 or over, have to go over hurdles or even novice chasing as well. If you've got they've all come from point to point backgrounds, and if they're winning point to points, and that's over fences, so you could skip the hurdles route if you think you've got a chase and you've missed a season or two because of some setbacks.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I mean it's one of the we're going to see likes Kilcroots or Gerhard. They're going to be turning 7 come Cheltenham. They're going to potentially line up in a Gold Cup at 9. That stats would say that's probably too old. So I do see the logic in that.
Yeah, there's a recurring theme now, particularly the Cheltenham Festival. The younger you are, the more likely you are to win. It seems if you get to 9, 10, 11, it's kind of pushing it. It wasn't historically always the case, but it seems to be now. But remember they put Fokine over fences at 11. So there can be exceptions to the rule. I appreciate it starting quite late, but he still looks quite young in himself as well. So different horses will take different routes and it takes them different times to mature as well. So I just think you have to respect the natural path. But I do think there are ways that they can kind of maybe streamline the novice campaign a little bit, so more horses can go into open company a little bit quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll move into a question from Jamito. Quite fancy Imperial Aura to win the King George in the Gold Cup. What are your thoughts?
Probably clearer after the Betfair chase. Moving up to 3 miles is certainly a good move because the Ryanair, I think just everything happened quite quickly. He took an innocent unseat beforehand as well. It kind of
wasn't a fall.
Set back his preparation a little bit. I think the Betfair chase will reveal a lot more. If he runs well and shapes well on that, then I think it would harbour hopes. Is it maybe a lively each way chance and maybe a King George or a Gold Cup? I'm still not quite sure if he's made that transition yet into Grade 1 open company, but yeah, keep an eye out on Saturday and see where he runs there, and you'll probably have your answer.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see how he performs as well. He was well fancied in the Ryanair. He just didn't travel at all. I think he bled after it, if I'm right. I think that's what they came out and said after it. But you're just hoping he maybe comes back to some decent form, because he was a really good winner of the Close Brothers the year before, and then kind of a really good kind of start to his transition into kind of graded company. But we'll see how that goes. I really do think there's a talented horse in there. Is he at that level? I don't know, but he's certainly a horse to keep an eye on Saturday. Neil Dawkins, what is your best alternative to Ryanair favourite Allaho? Can he go better than last year? And if he doesn't capture that form, what would be your alternative to him in the race?
Well, Fakir Duderi could have put down a good marker, didn't he? And the weekend, maybe he's a mid 165 operator, so for sure, and he'd be certainly trained for it. He's probably the obvious one that can maybe pick up the pieces if Allaho doesn't transform that form from last time, because he was the only one that could really go the gallop with him. I think the test would suit Shan Blue as well if there was positive vibes about him. Quite prominent, the speed-orientated track. He stalks Surname, for instance. Can he do the same with Allaho? It's a bit of it's a free-going type, and if he gets a lead, I think he could be potentially dangerous at 16-1. But then again, you don't know how he's going to react from that fall. Envoy Allen's another one that looks to be a Ryanair type. Defi DeSoy might be coming back Saturday. He's won over 2.5 at the Cheltenham Festival before. If he gets back to his old self,
that isn't impossible because they got him back as a hurdler.
He'd be in with a squeak. But there are options if you do believe that Allaho's kind of performance was just kind of a bit of a freak flash in the pan one.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably Envoy Allen for me. He's probably the best, the most talented one. And if he gets back to form, he would give Allaho a serious race. But it's hard to see past Allaho, isn't it? Like his performance last year was electric.
Yeah, it is on last year's form. Yeah, definitely. It just depends if he's able to replicate it or not.
Yeah, we'll move into a question from GC Chris. Riviere Detel was very impressive at the weekend. Would you give her a campaign for the Arkle or the Mare's Chase?
I think she's a bang-out 2-miler. So I think that would rule out the Mare's Chase and probably Arkle. And particularly given how young she is as well, I'd be quite keen to stick to the novice campaign. She got a lot of weight in the weekend, 18 pounds from Cape Gentleman. And when you see when she was running in the Fred Winter, she was going really well, 2 out, and she emptied a little bit.
Yeah,
suggests that she's all speed. She'll be tricky to campaign though. It's 4 going 5. You're only going to get £7 the turn of the year instead of the 18 that you're going to get from Cape Gentleman in the weekend. So I think there's a nice little mares race at Cork that they're eyeing up 3-4 weeks later down the line. That might reveal a little bit more, but because of the mares programme being expanded, she does have more options than normal for a juvenile mare.
Yeah, I would agree. I think she looks an out-and-out 2-miler. She was high on my radar last year, but she had a really poor performance against the Devil's Coachman, I think it was, and just she was unlucky. The Fed winner, so she just flattened a wee bit and just never really going. But she looks as if she's progressed for her friends. But I would say probably Arkle if she was going to Cheltenham. Patrick Connolly, Henry de Bromhead is 2 horses, Magic Days and Genuine Line, both mares, both trained by Henry, both owned by Rob Coor. Which goes where at Cheltenham?
Magic Days is an Arkle horse and Genuine Line is a Mare's Chase horse.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think as well, you could maybe see them go. You could maybe see one of them skipping to go to that Mare's Chase. Is it Limerick? Just after Cheltenham?
Yeah, the one the same weekend that they were kind of that they thought that Kilreevy would go
yes.
for, turning up early May. Yeah, one of them. I think Genuine Line, they know what her ceiling roughly is. Magic Days, I think she is a 2-miler, so it's going to have a free going sort. So I think it's pretty straightforward what they're going to do there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think you would potentially have Magic Days for the Arkle, Bob Wallinger for the Marsh, and Genuine Line for the Mare's Chase. So they could have a few decent darts to throw at the Novice Chase division. But we'll move into the next question from Chris Pollard. Just wondered after the Morgiana if you think there are any other dangers to Honeysuckle in the Champion Hurdle. We'll touch on the Morgiana in more detail later on, but when it comes to this Champion Hurdle, it's looking now as if there's not much there to threaten Honeysuckle.
Yeah, given how dominant Charger was, it suggests to me that the current Champion Hurdle crop are still quite significantly above what's going on, and Honeysuckle's quite significantly above Sharjah, on a repeated, consistent basis at any track. So, given Sharjah was kind of cut from 20s to 14s, it's a bit surprising that Honeysuckle wasn't clipped from 74 to 64, something like that. She definitely holds all the aces. I do think they're banking on Epatone to come back to her very, very best at Newcastle or something maybe give the market something to think about, because it's quite hard to, and that £7 allowance as well. It's quite hard to see any new kid in the block coming at her, because I think Echoes and Rain was probably the sleeper that was number one in everyone's list to kind of shake up the current crop, and it never really materialised.
Can I put forward a wee theory?
Go on.
Willie Mullins has an insane depth of novice hurdlers. If you're going by what the talk is, let's say Kilcrew, Sir Gerhard, they're two horses that looked really good last year. Let's say one of them was a monster this year in a novice hurdle campaign. Could Willie Mullins maybe go, that's got a chance to win the champion hurdle? One of them, potentially?
He could do if he only feels that Charles is the one that he's got. If his mares aren't really kind of doing the business, then he could conceivably do it. He's just not really one to rush into.
I don't think. Yeah, it's a really shot in the dark. But one of those two horses could be an aeroplane.
Yeah, but he just tends to send them over the racing route rather than straight into established hurdles as well.
Yeah, Monmoral.
I don't think it'll be good enough, but and I also doubt that he's a Cheltenham horse. He avoided it last year, and I think another 4-year-old going 5, I think they'll be quite protective of him. Fighting Fifth will reveal more. If he wins that, beats Epatante, then probably will go there.
Yeah, I mean it's a division that looks to be headlined by Honeysuckle. But we'll move into the next question from Douglas. With value and Ante Post markets being squeezed more and more, are markets overreacting to poor performances, or a more accurate reflection of what prices should have been in the first place? Tell me something, Gillian, put the kettle on. Both festival winners last year ran poorly at the weekend and have doubled in price since. What is your thoughts on this?
Well, I think I'd be more concerned with put the kettles on run than tell me something, girls. I think there is probably an overreaction if you tell me something, girl, because Henry de Bromhead has consistently stated the mare's hurdle's the big target. We're working back from that. So, off top weight at Punchestown, it was a track that she didn't really like after she won the mare's novices hurdle. It's a bit too sharp for her. 3 miles was too far last time. So, if you're inclined to forgive that, then 14s, 16s is a pretty good price, because all the main rivals there, apart from She Wears It Well, struggle to get there. I think Queensbrook's a bit of a threat there now, but put the kettle on was a little bit more disconcerting in her defeat. But yeah, I think Cheltenham Festival form is a big factor, and if they do overreact to clearly what's not their target because they're not fit, or they're more suitable to Cheltenham than at Punchestown, and it's kind of a sharp right-handed track. It's a completely different test to Cheltenham. Kempton as well, for instance, Aya Maximus would be a lot more suited to Cheltenham than Kempton. You'd bet him there than rather at Kempton and stuff like that, and vice versa. So there can be pockets of value when that happens.
Do you remember a few years ago, right? And this is just something I thought about when I saw this question. Do you remember a few years ago in the Triumph, there was a horse called Ivanovic Gorbatov?
Mm-hmm.
Right. He won. He was a very good horse in the flat, if you remember. He was a Ballydoyle horse. I think he was rated something like 106. He was a very good horse. Went over hurdles, beat, I think it was Let's Dance in his first run, and went to about 11-2 for the Triumph. He looked really, really good. Ran really bad on heavy ground at Leopardstown in February, and they put him out to about 14s. And it was a massive price, because he looked a proper good ground horse, and the Triumph was ran in good ground that year. And 14-1, I think a lot of people smashed in, and then went off favourite and won really well. So it's happened before, but that's the kind of example I lead to, like that. One bad run doesn't rule out a horse for Cheltenham.
No, it certainly can't. I mean, Minute fell, won the Gold Cup.
Yeah, exactly.
6-8-1 at the start of the season. I think off the back of Cheltenham last year, that's the only evidence that you really have had of backing Manila for the Gold Cup. It was purely Cheltenham track based, and put the kettle on with Simmer.
Yep.
That year. So I'd always have that in the back of my mind, saying, well, if it runs at Cheltenham and it's its main target, and its form's clearly better there than a lot of horses that might be in better form but are untested at Cheltenham, or they haven't put their best foot forward at Cheltenham, it's worth all these kind of swatting up and like stable tour knowledge and stuff like that. And if there are working in a main target for the season, just put it back in mind and see, well, if you can forgive it, go and watch it back and see if you still like the horse or not for the Cheltenham side.
Might Bite and Champ, they were two horses that fell as well. They went out and won.
So. It can be done.
Aye, it can be done, but it's a very interesting question. Final question from Fraser Henderson. Is Tiger Roll at 6 for the cross country the best bet of the festival? Does he win that again and go on to Aintree for national number 3?
If Gordon Elliott had his way, he'd train him to win the cross country and retire him on the spot. He's getting these soft entries to like Ascot chases and Cheltenham last week and not really turning up to try and get a handicap marked down a little bit. It's not going to work, but they can try it all they like. Is he a good bet right now? If you knew the ground was good, yes, but we don't. If it's soft, it's down the drain because he won't act on it. So I think the cross country with the two established players, if it's soft, back Easy's land, and if it's not, back Tiger Roll. So you're leaving it 50-50 with the ground.
Yeah.
It's probably more likely to be dry than not. Spring, it's been unseasonably dry all year, so it's probably going to get the ground will probably come in your favour. So it's not a guarantee. I wouldn't want to bet in the British weather coming too far. And he's also a year older as well, so he's 61. It's not a bad bet, and it's limited opposition and the limited numbers will take it. Maybe something else will come over from France. Ayas, for instance, the Balco de Flo ran quite well in that cross country.
Yeah, he did actually. Yeah.
Big top week kind of came in and hampered them a little bit. Plan of attack didn't shake too badly either for Henry de Bromhead. He might be better down the line as well. So, yeah, if you can't really see anything that's coming out, then it's between Tiger Roll and Easy's Land again, and it's up to what ground suits which horse. Yeah,
I don't think there's any chance he'll run him in the National again, unless they manage to get his handicap away down. The O'Learys wouldn't run him. If they wanted to win 3 in a row, they would have done it 2 years ago.
No, and I think it's becoming his race a little bit, the cross country, isn't it? So, and there'll be a crowd there as well, so he's probably going to get a fair ovation if he wins and retires.
Yeah, definitely. But that was our fan questions. If you want to get a question to me, myself, or Calum, please drop it in the comments below and we will answer it on the show. Thanks very much. We'll move on now to the recap. We'll start back in Tuesday at Fairyhouse where Gabinaco won a beginner's chase in 2 mile 5. It was very, very good. Beat a few good horses in there, the likes of Fury Road, Fakira, Midnight Run. Calum, what was your overall takeaways from that race?
It was a decent race. He was well touted for the Martin Pipe last year, Gabinaco, and he's improved for a fence. Jump was really good. Fury Road needed further. Midnight Run shaped quite well before I think he made a big mistake at the last actually that kind of did for him, and Fakira gets spooked by making an early mistake. So I think it's a decent enough race. Just wonder if Gavin Cromwell will be tempted to go for the Drinmore with him, even though he suggests that he should maybe be going up to 3 miles sooner rather than later. But he didn't look too slow there. Might chance your arm at the Drinmore.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Fury Road was probably the horse that was kind of one to take away. He's into 20s for the National Hunt Chase. Is that an avenue he could go down?
Could do. He does look like a horse that needs a bit of a trip. I don't think he's the most straightforward to train, though. He does have these kind of setbacks, and they kept him back for Stairs Hurdle, and it didn't quite go right for him. He was markedly well punted that day as well, so certainly a horse in there. Just whether they can get the best out of him, I'm not sure, but I think he's more of a chaser than a hurdler as well. Yeah, we'll move on to Wednesday in Bangor. The Glancing Queen won a 2 mile 1 novices chase. She's into 20 to 1 for the mare's chase. Were you impressed? It was a good performance. Solid. Didn't really put a foot wrong. Stamped her class in a race that she ought to win anyway. She has a point-to-point background. Suggests that fences will bring the best out of her, but I think her mark that day was like 131 or something like that. Given LMA's about 155, there needs to be a fair chunk of improvement for fences to be a player in that race. I think she actually raced quite well last year in the mare's novices when she had a bit bit more experience under the belts. It stayed on for 5th behind Tell Me Something Girl. Suggested going up and trip will also benefit her. So not entirely ruled out. I think there'll be a listed race at Warwick for her. A nice mare's chase there, and that should reveal more.
We'll move into Thursday in Clonmel. Mount Ida, the winner of last year's Canmure, won a good chase. 9-1 now for the mare's chase. She was a little bit awkward jumping a few, but she was overall decent. We know she's got an engine. She came from literally miles away to win that race last year. She want to keep an eye on?
She is. Elliot Yard have hinted that the main target is a Grand National for her. Mm-hmm. She might run the mare's chase like Magical Light did before going to the Grand National last year. She did jump markedly right in the Canmure, and the right-handed track at Punchestown suited her. Does have a bit of pace to win over 2.5, but I don't think we'll get away with that at Cheltenham over that kind of trip if she does go back to jumping right-handed. Yeah,
also at Clonmel, Fakir Duderie won the Grade 2. Again, we touched on this earlier, a brilliant performance, jumped absolutely brilliant. We know what this horse can do over fences. 8-1 for the Ryanair, roughly kind of joint second favourite with like saying Royal N. Was entitled to win the race, but there was a massive, impressive performance here.
Yeah, it jumped really cleanly. Visually, it was very impressive. The race behind did fall apart a little bit. I don't think Royal Rendezvous is a 161 operator. No. The marks ridiculously high. He seems to still get age in his side as well. If he can improve a little bit, he could give Allaho a run for his money at the Ryanair. He was emphatic at Aintree over 2.5 miles afterwards. So it's certainly a good horse in his day.
Yeah, I mean, I've followed this horse for a couple of years. He's been always on my radar. Does he enjoy Cheltenham?
I think he does. I think he'd been runner-up twice in an Arkle and obviously last year in the Ryanair. It tests his jumping a little bit more. I think Cheltenham, I wouldn't have any worries about the track. It's just whether the opposition stands in a Ryanair that does look to be as strong as last year's. His price is fair enough. I would back him, but I wouldn't certainly not oppose him at the moment.
Yeah, but we'll move into the November meeting at Cheltenham. We'll start with Friday with Gin and Lime beating My Drogo. We'll touch on this. Just crazy, isn't it?
A wild match race, yeah. I'm not going to see a much more exciting 2-horse race than that. It was an unbelievable set from Rachel Blackmore that saved this from complete farce. But I think My Drogo didn't really lose much in defeat. He's doing what everyone expected. He
jumped well up until that last one, didn't he?
Gin on Lime's jumping was a lot more scratchy than his before 2 out.
I was crazy how right she jumped, because she looked as if she was just screaming for a left-handed track, and she was jumping a lot. She was jumping right a lot of the race,
and quite low as well. She has been campaigned over the summer. The yard suggested that maybe it was a bit laboured and maybe we're asking one race too much for. On that evidence alone, I wouldn't be rushing to back a 14s for a mare's chase. My Drogo was kind of unmoved. He'll go back to Cheltenham next month and a clean round. You'll probably learn more, but he is certainly decent. That second last and third last, even the last as well. There was a lot of slithering mistakes there. Which was a bit disconcerting to watch all the time, really. And the race develops. You kind of your heart in your mouth for a lot of the time coming from home. I don't know if they watered it right, but it's just what caught my eye.
I mean, My Drogo, we know the engine he has. Gin on Lime, she was all right. She was fine. I mean, I'm never going to hear another bad word said about Rachel Blackmore, because how she managed to sit in that, I'll never know. But you don't really learn much for a 2-horse race, do you?
No, and it offers no appeal to a punter as well. No. You have to sit and watch it and try and learn as much as possible. I think My Drogo just slithering. He jumped it okay. He did clatter through it. You'd expect them to find the leg, and they didn't, because I just think they just slithered all the time, and they couldn't really find the leg. And once they did, they just fell over. It was certainly an odd watch, but thank goodness for Rachel Blackmore's incredible art of wizardry, really.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll move into the Ballymore trial. A horse for Charles Burns, Blazing Cow, won really well, into 16th for the Ballymore. I know Charles Burns has been getting a bit of bad press, but he always has a really good hurdler, and this could be another one.
Yeah, we'll talk in afterwards. It might be more of an Albert Bartlett horse down the line. He also probably want more cutting the ground. Still, his back form was in really deep ground. What they'll do, they could go to the Chal if they wanted to at Newbury. They might just campaign him back in Ireland and come back for the festival. If it's good to soft, probably go Bartlett. If it's a deep ground, he could maybe take advantage of his excess stamina and maybe go the Albert Bartlett. I don't think the racing behind was particularly good. There was a lot of reputation smashed in it, I think. And the second, trained by Paul Nicholls, Gelino Bello, looked like he hated the track. Travelled really well into it, and then the undulations caught him out. And it seems to be a lot of Paul Nicholls' horses did that. Magistrato did it. Seems a lot of them just seem to be flat track bullies. Don't really like Cheltenham, particularly like novice standard.
Yeah. We'll move on to Saturday, which was a good day, wasn't it? We had a few good winners that day, both of us.
Yeah, ignore the Friday.
Aye, Friday was horrible, but Saturday started well. Night Salute was a good one on the Triumph trial. 14-1 for the Triumph in some places. Beat Magistrato, who just kind of really went out of the light, didn't he? But Night Salute for Milton Harris was a good performance.
Nah, no chance in a Triumph.
Think so?
Really weak race. Yeah, ridiculously weak race. Definitely saw it. All Mankind won it, and then we get that. Rubbish.
We'll move into another performance. Third Time Lucky has been cut. 8s for the Arkle. Wasn't as good jumping as his first run at Cheltenham, but still beat what was there. It wasn't a great race either, was it?
No. Again, he jumped right 3 out.
Yeah.
I don't think Cheltenham really is his. Might not be his track, although he's won there twice now. And I thought he was really tired up the hill. Captain Tomcat, if he didn't come down to last, he might not have entirely been done with, given Sebastopol got within 4.5 lengths at the line. Captain Tomcat would probably get within maybe 2. When he went up that hill, you can just imagine and appreciate it completely devouring him.
Yes.
To be honest. That's kind of what you're thinking. When the real big Irish guns come out, is he going to do enough? We knew he was slightly below top class in hurdles, and you're thinking, is the same fate going to happen over fences with him? He can only do what he's doing right now, and I think his jumping is good. The way he attacks fences is positive. He's certainly Britain's leading hope at the moment, but is he showing his hand too early? I don't think Appreciate It Fairly Hollow would be overly concerned about what they've seen at the moment, because he'd be better getting a faster pace and a lead as well. Third Time Lucky in his defence, so he's not as untractable at this stage as maybe an All Mankind was last year. And I think his jumping's a little bit cleaner as well, so I wouldn't completely ignore him, but at the prices I'd rather avoid at the moment. We'll
move into the Paddy Power Gold Cup. Midnight Shadow was obviously a big winner on the day for Sue Smith. Protectorate and Layla were second and third. Do you take more out of them towards the festival than perhaps Midnight Shadow?
Probably, given Midnight Shadow's going to get a £7 penalty for that and go up to 154, which is probably sealing his ability. They might even target an ambitious tilt at the King George, Sue Smith was saying, which is that they're probably handicapped out of things for now. Caspian Caviar in the new course looks a good fit for Layla. He was staying on quite well at the line.
Yeah. Protectorate, they're talking about going to the Savills.
They could go to the Savills, or they could go to the Many Clouds Chase. Those are the two options open to him. Again, he'll go back to graded company. That was a really good race. It was the best race of the weekend. It was just a really strong, solid handicap look to the form overall.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We'll move into Punchestown. A couple of horses to mention. I was a bit disappointed in Saturday morning. I had my column written out, was talking about how much I was looking forward to Bob Ollinger. Posted it, minute I posted it, non-runner. But French Dynamite won that race. 25 to the Marsh and the Brown Advisory. Is he good enough for
that? Rated 150 over hurdles. He might be. His trainer's very deliberate and careful with him. I think Mouse Morris said he's a bit backward still, so and they missed the festival last year and they could have went. So I'm just thinking, are they going to do the same thing here and protect him and keep him at home? But it was still a decent performance. I mean, I thought Torygraph shaped quite well.
Mm-hmm.
He clearly needs at least another mile on top of what he was doing. He might be another kind of Gigginstown Elliott National Hunt chase horse potentially. He seems to have a few for that down the line. He did it well enough. We're confident taking Bob Ollinger out, so the owner probably knew that he's going to be second anyway if he ran.
Yeah, but we'll move into Riviere de Tel, beat Cape Gentleman with 21 lengths. Very, very impressive performance. Jumped really well. We touched on it earlier. She has a potential to be a contender in an Arkle, doesn't she?
Yeah, it's be tricky to place, but I mean, she was very slick, efficient, accurate. Everything you want to really see in an Arkle contender, really, over 2 miles. Buried a good horse in Cape Gentleman with minimal fuss. The weight allowances does kind of temper enthusiasm a little bit because it won't be as drastic when it comes to the spring festivals, but she was definitely very good.
Yeah, and I thought it was a really good performance as well. She's got that ability to just kind of clean a fence, which I think is really good, and potentially she's one to keep an eye on if she goes kind of into a better class. Sunday at Cheltenham, 3 under through 5 beat Does He Know. Oscar Elite, who was second in last year's battle, it fell when he was going really well. I think he would have probably won. What was your overall takeaways from that race?
Yeah, I liked Oscar Elite the most out of the 3. Again, that fence, fence is when they freewheel down the hill and these are the stairs races, it can just catch novices out big time. It was an innocent enough fall. I think it'd be okay for it. And Colin Tizard tends to run. There's really good 3 milers there. The big breakaway, for instance, Thistlecrack won that.
Yeah.
I'd given his horses were really poor form. For him to place in 2 Grade 1s at Cheltenham and Aintree was probably a feat that he can mark up. I think he's interesting at 33s for a festival novices chase. If he's none the worse, because 3 under through 5, that's probably career best for him.
Mm-hmm.
Still think you're just right over his fences sometimes, and I'm not convinced Cheltenham Ways track is definitely will have to go National Hunt chase anyway, because it will probably go too quick for him.
Yeah, I think National Hunt
3 miler, and I think Does He Know is probably, he doesn't have the scope as the other 2, but he will consistently run his mark, and maybe an Ultima type kind of run like Happy Go Lucky last year could be the way to go with him.
Yeah, potentially, yeah. But we'll move into the slower chase. Nubi Negra won well, beating Politolog, put the kettle on last year's the champion chase winner. She was disappointing. She was looking to go 5 for 5 at the track. Nubi Negra was really good.
Yeah, again, I'm not impressed with the overall form of the race.
No, it's a terrible renewal.
Mainly because Put the Kettle On has ran very well below par. Nubi Negra, it was a tactical dream of a scenario for him.
He could have just walked by Politolog, couldn't he?
Just track Politolog, and the Politologs ran a admirable, honest race. There were rumours beforehand that it wasn't working too well. He probably put on a better show than most expected. The market drifted for him. The market came for Rouge Vif, actually, out of spare, which is a bit strange. But Nubi Negra is a class act on his day, and I think there might be better stairs at the hill. They also didn't go quick, which didn't play to Put the Kettles On strengths at all, and I think she needs soft ground really these days. Like Aidan Coleman was kind of reporting that she finished off her race well, but still well beaten by Politolog. I would have liked to see her pick him up, for instance. So Nubi Negra, he's an each way player in the champion chase, but the feeling is that Shishkin and Emma Gamina that could be a class apart, and they'll have to go and improve again to meet them. But he was an unlucky loser in it last year. He's beat the reigning champion that was unbeatable at Cheltenham beforehand. So we wouldn't grab it too much. Just visually to my eye, it kind of fell apart again. But he was entitled to be cut for the champion chase, and 10-1, not too bad.
Yeah, it's it's an each way play, isn't it? Because you're expecting Shishkin and Energy, even Shaka and Paswa to come back to get to be better than him. But again, we'll move into the last race that we're going to mention at Cheltenham. I like to move. It was another winner. Had to work for this because Washington was travelling really well, but just I did once he was asked to find, he found well. 20s for the Supreme. Is there a chance?
As bad as a Triumph race, really, in terms of a spectacle and quality. He's a grinder. He's a bit like the new one. Compared them to the new one, didn't you?
Yeah, did you?
Maybe a slow burner. I think they need to be soft and a real grind. I like the planning for the Betfair hurdle with them. I think that's a sensible move. And if it's a really weak Supreme like it was last year, minus Appreciate It, then you could be tempted to go and have a go. But I do think he's probably got a ceiling of maybe 145 or something like that. I don't think he'd have much in hand. But it was only 3 or 4 runners again. Why I Am Maximus was running at Kempton and not in that is because it was a maiden is beyond me when it's clearly going to be more suitable. Stuff like that when there's too many of these trials and novice trials for people to avoid each other, really. It's a bit annoying in that aspect.
Yeah, definitely. Does the calendar need a rejog for that kind of thing?
It certainly does, because it's really uncompetitive, and I don't think it's helping anyone, really, particularly this side of the Irish Sea.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's a few horses to mention on the other side of the Irish Sea at Punchestown on Sunday. Vanillier, last year's Bartlett winner, won the Florida Pearl. There was only 2 runners finished. Runwell Feb's a non-runner and 6-shooter fell. It wasn't a great race, was it? But 10-1 for the National Hunt Chase, 14-1 for the Brown Advisory. What is his target?
He looked a bit slow, so I suggest National Hunt Chase maybe. Given he's an Albert Bartlett winner, that would probably be quite logical. I think softer ground wouldn't go amiss either for him, to be honest. He rallies quite well. He's a bit of a fighter, and I can see a grind like the National Hunt Chase suiting him more than a Festival Novices Chase. But if it's a big field and they go too quick in that, he might become a player. But yeah, I would lean towards the National Hunt Chase at the moment, and the market seems to agree. 6-shooter was a fatal fall. It was quite hard to watch that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but we'll move into the Mares Hurdle. Dysart Diamond won the beating Royal Cala by half a length. Your horse, Tell Me Something Girl, was just conditions were never going to suit her in that kind of situation. But overall thoughts?
Probably unreliable early season mare's form, as you'd expect. Dysart Diamonds was race fit, and that kind of told. She's certainly a spring horse as well. I don't think you'll see her in the winter. Like bottomless grounds, I think you should definitely avoid. And Tell Me Something Girl, I think conceded about 6 lengths at the start as well.
Yeah.
Ridden cold, and those tactics weren't going to work around Punchestown, particularly off a slow pace like that. But Royal Cala ran well, probably the eye catcher in second, maybe a bit unlucky. Yeah, I suppose the money came for Tell Me Something Girl by default when Galwa was pulled out.
Yeah.
The same owner, so all know the Mares Hurdle's a target, and that was just a warm up really. And a lot of Henry's top class horses have been needing to run. No, for instance, probably put the kettle on as well.
Calixios as well, yeah.
Calixios, Tell Me Something Girl, quite a lot of, particularly the ones that ran really well in March. I've been needing the first outing for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll move into the big race at Punchestown, the Morgiana. Sharjah won it well, beating Zana here. Echoes and Rain was really disappointing. Overall thoughts in the Morgiana?
Another one that kind of fell apart a little bit. It was a bit unsatisfactory. I was surprised what they did with Echoes and Rain. I thought they'd go forward on her.
Yeah, me too.
And at least you'd find out a little bit more in relation to Zana here, at least of where you're kind of at. Because bridging 143 165 is, in terms of marks, it's quite hard to do first time out. I thought it'd just be a bit more positive on her. They didn't go overly fast either, but Charles is so relaxed and professional that it suits him. They don't need to go quick for it. He wants it to be a sprint. Come from last to first and go through them. Zanny made a big mistake at the start, but
yes,
Charles almost kind of overtook him and just taking a pull, and just a matter of just deliver him at the last and see what happens. It's as simple as that. And Zanny ran well to a point.
Needs a step on trip. Could potentially see a stairs trip. Can I chance on him?
They could. I think they're mooting that. I think we'll go 2.5 miles next time. Sure.
Yeah. Right. Echoes and Rain. She's not going to stay 2.5. This is the Champion Hurdle's the only race you can run her in.
Well, if a mark of 1:43, you could probably run on the county hurdle if you wanted.
You could, yeah, but she's
needs to learn to settle and needs to improve. It's as simple as that. Is this a blip in her long-term improvement curve, or something deeper that exposed her completely genuine against genuine top-level opposition, which Charge is? She went to post fine. It was not as if she was like pulling at the start.
No.
She just then get lit up by having a slow pace and wanted to go faster. So surprised. I would just let her on the day.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of know your fate. I just wondered if tactically they didn't want to go too quick to set it up for a more staying tight like Zanahi on the day that would have ran the finish at a Sharjah, for instance.
Yeah, probably, yeah. But Sharjah, we know how honest Sharjah is. His limit's probably second, isn't it? He's not going to beat Honeysuckle, as honest as he is.
Yeah, a strongly run 2 miles. If it's too strong and it's too small a field, it doesn't really plate his strengths too much, because he wants it to be a dash. He wants to use his turn of foot. He's been outstayed by Honeysuckle quite frequently as well. He really wants that test of speed that he gets from his Leopardstown assignments all the time. That play into his strengths. So Punchestown, it's kind of a speed-orientated track as well. That kind of suits him. I'm just baffled by the tactics and Echoes and Rain, and she was long-term favourite for this on the day. She wasn't. The drift kind of took, so they probably knew that she might not have been up to that standard.
Yeah, but we'll move into the final. Horse to mention in our recap was an eye catcher at Punchestown in the final race, the Big Doyen for Peter Fahey. Very impressive turn of foot. Beat a good horse of Gordon Elliott. I think it was Cool Survivor, that name. 16s for the bumper. Very eye catching.
Definitely good performance. 16s is certainly big. I think it's been cut as well a little bit. Probably because if it was trained by Willie Mullins or something, it'd probably be joint. It's not good. I think he was carrying a penalty. He did it easily. Another one I mentioned at Court was Magic Days, who jumped them all together. She was very good. Thought Top Bandit was also quite decent at Punchestown as well. One I forgot at Cheltenham was Sporting John winning that hurdle.
Nap of the day.
Yeah, I think he's interesting. He was a top weight, but if they just stick with hurdles with him,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Division that seems weak. He's a Grade 1 novice chase winner in the Scilly Isles. He went off 5-1 for a Ballymore, so there's obviously a bit of a reputation there, and might also give you a line of how well Time Hill's doing, because it's in the same yard of Philip Hobbs. If they do stick hurdling with him, that might be a slight worry in the back of your mind about how well Time Hill is. So I think he's certainly one to watch out for from that angle as well.
Yeah, definitely. And that was your recap for the week. We'll take a look at what's coming up this week, and we have a Grade 1 at Haydock. We have the Betfair Chase on Saturday. Early days, we don't know declarations yet, but it's looking like it could be a stacked race.
Looking good. Probably revolves around how fully tuned up A Plutard is for it. Certainly the class act of the field. And then you've got Bristol Demai looking to win it 4 times. Q Card won it 3 times. He's won it 3 times. Is the ground going to be soft enough for him? he can act on it. Certainly know.
I think he won it. He's won it in good ground before, hasn't he?
Yeah, he can act in the track. He's just a little bit better.
Yeah.
Heavy. I think his dominance around there is kind of exacerbated by heavy ground. It really suits him. It's a big, stiff, galloping track, and he does like it. He might still be the bet at the moment.
I've got two fancies for it, but it all depends on ground. If it goes really soft, I think Royal Pagai's the bet of the week. I think, but again, it might not be soft enough.
I think there's reports this morning that they might have to pull him out because it's not soft enough.
Yeah, but if we were to get an unknown kind of quantity of rain, then he could be a chance. Next Destination could be a big player here. He is potentially unknown. His kind of depth's unknown. Ran a brilliant race in that National Hunt Chase last year and just get outstayed by Galvin, but stepped down to 3 miles. He's got that. He's a good horse. I think he could potentially be one to keep an eye on because I think Apotard could potentially be needing the run. He always doesn't run well first time out. He doesn't win first time out, but again, it could just be something could just beat him in the day. And again, it could be like Manelando that runs well enough and isn't really cut for the Gold Cup.
Particularly if Leopardstown is going to be his main target again, anyway, you can see this being used as a bit of a stepping stone to test the water. Next Destination does have enough to find. I think Paul Nicholls was leaning towards the Ladbroke Trophy, but then the owner decided no, I would rather run the bet pace. Which is an interesting move himself. But if he's still quite lightly raced for his age, Galvin's gone up to 165 as a mark, second to Down Royal to Foden. So if Next Destination can find that kind of level of improvement, then he's certainly a player. And Peter Laura is also potentially interesting at 8s. I think he could be a springer.
What about Champ?
Champ's not going, is he?
Is he not going?
Not declared, even though Nicky Henderson said he would be all season. So again, maybe another setback and more kind of delays and troubles with him. Yeah,
but it's going to be a really good race. I'm looking forward to it. We've got another race at Ascot, the 1965 Chase. Obviously, this where we saw Sunday Minaltior of that really good jewel a couple of years ago. Doesn't look as if there's as much class in that race as there, but any early thoughts in that race?
Not at all.
No. Definitely Desoy's favourite with Dashel Drasher.
Dashel Drasher loves the track.
So yeah.
He tends to go well enough fresh. Interesting Espard de Robbie turns up as well, giving them Peter Laura won it last year. It's probably going to be a decent little race, but just wait to see who turns up.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to have our column out on Saturday where we'll take a further in-depth look at this. Is there any other early kind of things catching your eye for the weekend?
Not particularly, no.
No, we'll move into talking about our Ante Post picks, and we'll just put our Ante Post picks up on the screen just now for the previous 2 weeks. I started the journey with me and went for a treble last week that included Bob Ollinger, Honeysuckle and Ellie May. Calum has started with Belle Metal in the Mayor's Novices Hurdle and his Big Lucky 15, which is over 5,500 to 1. Includes Tell Me Something Girl, Galloping Deschamps, Florin Porter and Manila Indo. So we will take a look at our Ante-Post pick for this week. We'll start with Calum. Calum, who's your Ante-Post pick for this week?
There's an eye catcher at Punchestown on Sunday, and it's Volcano at 20 to 1 for the Per Top Network final.
Okay.
Qualified 6th. Gordon Elliott and Nolan Valerie Moran, they're the owners. Elliott the trainer, and it's a dream combination that you're looking for in this race. He wasn't quietly ridden to get 6 or anything, he did genuinely have to work to get there, but he was only a 5-year-old, so that's okay. He was well punted for the Martin Pipe at 15 to 2 before hampered by, I think, Gavin Acko fell right in front of him and he brought it down. So I think that's excusable. It probably shows that they like him a lot. He's held in pretty high regard, I would think. Rated 127. You need 126, 130 generally to get in. The British handicap will probably give him 5 anyway, so maybe up to 132. Anything under 140, I think, would be absolutely fine. Given he had the Boss's Oscar last year, rated off 150, and Jordan Gainford can claim.
Yeah.
He's the best horse in that race, but his weight just was too much. Ireland have won the last 6 renewals of this, all quite easily too, and all with kind of classy horses as well. Presenting Percy, Sardaberly, Delta Work, stuff like that. Elliot had the favourite last year in the Boss's Oscar. The last 3 races before that, he'd won the last 3 renewals. Sardaberly twice. Storyteller was running up to one of them as well, which he trained, and Delta Work as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All those 3 are the Sardaberly, the Boss's Oscar, Delta Work. They are 150 plus operators. You're looking at 140, even 142 would probably be enough to have something in hand. I think it's a long-term plan. It's a loyalty of the Morans, sticking by him when things get tough. They're still searching for a Cheltenham winner. If they put this horse away, this could be kind of a guaranteed banker. There'll also be 6 come March. 5 of the last 9 winners of that race have been 6-year-olds as well. And the Irish dominant trend is there to see. And half of the last 6 winners have ran in a Punchestown qualifier for the race as well, which he did on Sunday. So he handles any ground. I think he'll go to Navan for a decent 3-mile race next 4 or 5 weeks. And I think he'll probably be put away quite swiftly. Hopefully this will be the target, and hopefully it doesn't blow his mark, because he might be a graded operator, to be honest, in the end, which he tend to need to be in these handicaps. So I think I'm inclined to get on board now, because I think that's an early block for these Perth Top qualifiers.
Yeah, it's a good pick. I think you're probably onto something there. I have went for something in the any race category that's potentially one to keep an eye on. At 7-1 to win any race at Cheltenham, I'm going to go for On the Ropes of Willie Mullins and Cheveley Park. He screams to be he's a second season novice, which I obviously love. I've done it with Galvin last year on the National Hunt Chase. I just think he's perfect for that kind of race. He's 12-1 for the National Hunt Chase, but you could see him maybe going for a Brown Advisory if he's just a bit better. I think he's a good horse. Obviously, I think he's a better horse than Startler. I think he's potentially. I would run him in the National Hunt Chase, but just to cover myself, 7-1 to win any race at Cheltenham, On the Ropes.
Yeah, fair enough. I think he does an entry in the Ladbrokes Trophy, doesn't he? He's quite
he does, yeah.
Interesting if he comes over for that. Yeah, just hope he runs there, not the Irish National, something like that.
Yeah, I'm hoping so, but I think Cheveley Park just love the festival, so you're hoping that he could potentially line up there. But 7-1 to win any race, that's my Ante Post pick, and you're going for your pick, Fulcano, in the Pertemps final?
Yeah.
Brilliant. That was our Ante Post picks, and we are going to wrap up the show there. Thank you very much to Calum for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thanks again.
Brilliant. Thank you very much to everyone that's tuned in and sent questions. Please send your questions into our comments page or on our social media. As always, subscribe to our podcast channel and YouTube channel, and follow us on social media for more Cheltenham content. Thanks very much, everyone. See you soon. Cheers.